Welcome, everyone, to Breaking Big Blue. I'm your host, Jordan Raanan on ESPN, ESPN.com. You're listening to or watching Breaking Big Blue times Giants Nation show collab. Boy, this is the week one recap, the day after just disaster, right? I mean, just to me, it's about the offense. This whole game is about the offense. Sure, the defense didn't play great. They didn't dominate. They had we could sit here and nitpick a lot of parts of the defense, but the offense looked incompetent for 95% of that game. And I don't want to hear this whole idea that it was all about the red zone. We didn't convert in the red zone twice. They got it. They had two good drives in the whole game. They had 230 total yards. And then if we converted both of those into touchdowns. That is the stupidest logic. That's like, we should, if we won all the close games. You don't win all the close games, and you don't score every time you reach the red zone. That's not reality, okay? The reality is, and go look at the stats, if you do like 50%, that's kind of where you come in on both of those. Like, that's up and down. Like, that's realistic. Okay? So, you can't be like, if we scored every time in the red zone. No. You didn't. You can't score every time you go in the red zone. That's not how life works. No team scores every single time they get in the red zone. Okay? You got to move the ball consistently. You got to give yourself shots. If you get in the red zone 5 times and score 3 touchdowns, there you go. But if you only get in twice, it makes it that much harder because the margin for error is so slim. You have to score every time. Otherwise, what? You get a field goal and a touchdown, you get your 50%, you get 10 points. Good luck winning games. And the Giants didn't even get to 10 points in this game because their offense was terrible, top to bottom, everything about it. And to me, the biggest concern, and I think this is why everyone's in such an uproar, is because it's an extension of last year. And tell me where I'm wrong here, okay? And I know people sitting here, the play calling, this, that. I already see play calling on the side. If you go into the season, their offense stunk last year. It wasn't even functioning, right? 31st in points per game. It was embarrassing most of the season. 3-14 season. Terrible. The plan was to bring back 10 of 11 starters. Okay? Right? Fine. 10, 11 starters. You replace a quarterback. Big. You can really send it to another level. Quarterback makes a difference. If you get the high-end top quarterback. 10 of 11 starters, and you're adding Russell Wilson. Oh, consider me stunned. It didn't work. You just subbed out Daniel Jones for what? Russell Wilson. You thought all your offensive woes were going to be cured. What? And on top of that, Andrew Thomas is still hurt and not playing. So here we are. Your offense gains 230 yards in the opener after a summer of optimism. This is the one thing that really struck me. Russell Wilson looked worse than I expected. And by the way, I didn't have high hopes for him in the first place. He's on his 4th team in 5 years. The Pittsburgh Steelers, and I've said this before on my podcast on Breaking Big Blue if you listen to him. The Pittsburgh Steelers they didn't want to bring Russell Wilson back. They didn't bring him back. They replaced him with Aaron Rodgers. They wanted a 42-year-old Aaron Rodgers over him. So when you have 4 teams in 5 years, it tells you where you are as a quarterback, right? The Giants should know, and look, I think they do. Deep down, they knew. Because think about it. Remember, this was like their 4th plan. They wanted to try to get Matthew Stafford. They wanted to try and get Cam Ward. They wanted to get Aaron Rodgers, for God's sakes, which after 1 week, granted, very quick sample size, looked like the right talent evaluation. Okay? But then if you're on 4 teams in 5 years, it speaks volumes of where you are as a quarterback. If you're a good quarterback at this point, in today's day and age, you're not going and jumping from team to team. Teams are dying to have any decent quarterback. Any decent, average, above average quality quarterback is not just going team to team. That's not the way it is. And Russell Wilson, let's be fair. And I don't expect him to be that bad. And I think he'll actually, if he starts, he'll have some good games. He'll have some fine games. He was terrible under pressure. 2 of 12 for 26 yards. He looked skittish. My friends were texting me during the game. Why does Russell Wilson look scared back there? Like he just couldn't stand back there. The second there was pressure, it was over. And you want to be positive. And like this thing about it, everyone's like, oh, such positive optimism. Everyone around the team is still picking them to win 5, 6, 7 games. Like, let's be realistic. That's optimism these days. 5, 6, 7 games. Jeez, where are we? That was brutal. And everybody's responsible. The offensive line was below average. And I was getting texts throughout the game from line coaches that I'm friendly with, either around the league or, that work with linemen in the offseason, with former linemen, guys that have played in the league. And they're all like, man, this line it's not good enough. It's just not good enough. They don't, especially without Andrew Thomas, there's no high-end player. And the thing that stuck out to me that a lot of them said to me, a lot of those coaches and players said to me, was they're just getting pushed back too constantly. There's no push forward. Like, if you could just push forward and you don't have to, and at least you have the power game, you can run and get 3 yards. It's not losses left and right. So, man, very discouraging. The interior of the line is just not good enough. John Michael Schmitz, everyone here is complaining. He was below average. Greg Van Roten was below average. John Runyon Jr. was okay at best. James Hudson, swing left tackle. You kind of knew how that was going to go. Not well. And then Jermaine Luminores, by the way, he's their best offensive lineman right now. And I don't think it's actually even close. And so it wasn't good enough as a whole. Next gen, which by the way just goes by distance from quarterback to lineman. I mean, defender to quarterback. They actually had, and this doesn't mean they're all necessarily. I mean, James Hudson could be between the guy and the quarterback, and it could still end up being called. But 9 pressures on there, according to Next Gen. I think the official number is more like 6, but either way, man, just not good enough. Both, by the way, both in the run game and the pass game. Like this line, at least you thought it would be okay as run blockers. I don't know about James Hudson. He's not the biggest guy in the world. So I wasn't sure about him in the run game. But, I believe Van Roten is a better run blocker than he is a pass blocker. I like Luminore generally as a run blocker. So, and they've done last year, at least they were okay with that. But, yeah. So, as Marissa says, we have a bad line with an aging quarterback who can't run. How is that a good idea? Tell me, how is that a good idea? Like and subscribe. Giants Nation Show saying, make sure you like and subscribe here on Giants Nation Show. And me with Breaking Big Blue. We love your support. Appreciate your support. To me, a big thing here. And so let's talk about some of the things that happened. And one of the things that stood out to me was the Malik Nabers and Brian Daboll going back and forth, okay? And you'd say this happens on the field, people get upset. I get that. But here's why it caught my attention, okay? Not for what they were arguing over or that the tempers flared. This is the concerning part to me. And I said before, it's like a carryover, an extension of last year. That's why you're worried. Right? Hey, we didn't get any better. We're just as bad offensively as we were last year. That's what you're thinking as a fan. And somebody says Nabers wants the ball. Like, yeah, I get that. I don't even care about that part. Here's what bothers me about it and tells me that it's a problem. Not between the two of them, but in a bigger scale, maybe the whole team. The fact that 1 quarter into the season, 1 quarter, Malik Nabers is admitting there was a frustration, where competitors going back 1 quarter into the season. It makes me think that in the back of their heads, they're worried. They're like, oh, here we go again. Here we go again. So that's the part that concerns me, is that it's all a carryover. It's all just an extension of what we've seen the past 2 years. And so, yes, as Mark says, it was a terrible look. It is a terrible look. 1 quarter into the season, and the receiver and coach are animatedly going back and forth and dap him up and get stiffed by the wide receiver. I mean, you can't make it up. 1 quarter into the season, I believe it was exactly, by the way, between the end of the first quarter and the second quarter. So the fact that that's a thing tells me that in the back of their head, a lot of these guys have, oh, here we go again. Here we go again. And guess what? As a fan, what are you thinking right now? Here we go again. Here we go again. Because how could you not? How could you sit there and watch that game and watch that offense and think, oh, you know what? We're going to be fine. It's just one game. No, you could say that if you didn't have last season and you have the season before that. But you do. And by the way, Daniel Jones is off there going absolutely bananas. I know he's playing nobody, but he's going absolutely bananas. Scores on every single possession he touches the ball. And Russell Wilson comes here, who wasn't good last year, by the way, Russell Wilson, the year before that, but at least he was serviceable. Comes here, and all of a sudden, he looks unplayable. And now, 1 game into the season, 1 game, we're talking about, should Jackson Dart start? Should he play? 1 game into the season. 1 game into the season. And there's just things that and look, I know you want to get Nabers the ball. He has to get the ball. He had 12 targets, okay? 12 or more targets now in 8 games since the start of last year. That's more than any other player. By the way, he missed 2 games during that time as well. You can't function as an offense. It's not healthy. And I had players tell me this last year, at the end of last year, when I went around the locker room and I said, what do you think went wrong this year? And a couple of the guys said, we can't do that again, where every ball is going to this guy and the whole offense is around him. Like, that's not sustainable. And I get it. He is their best chance to be successful. But you can't sign Darius Slayton, who, by the way, Darius Slayton's a pretty good player in this league. He's a solid player, which is why I think he was crazy to come back here. He comes back here, gets paid. He gets 1 target. Like, you got to include other guys. Dial some plays up and get the ball into other guys' hands. Where was the screen game that we saw all summer? Non-existent. The only one who I thought who had a pretty good game was Wan'Dale Robinson. Thought it was interesting also to use Wan'Dale Robinson on kickoffs. They used Jamie Gillen to do the first kickoff. These are like their special weapons. They spent all summer coming up with these special weapons. Hey, we're going to use Jamie Gillen to do this special kickoff. Big deal. Oh, we're going to surprise them with Wan'Dale Robinson returning kicks. He's never done it before. Okay. He looked okay returning it, but I mean, these aren't difference-making things. And K-Max says Russ was terrified. Honestly, it really did look that way. It looked like, and you saw Dan Orlovsky, who he knows a thing or two about quarterback play in the NFL, and I get it. He wasn't a great quarterback in the NFL, but he knows when he watches what's going on. That Russell Wilson, the second that pressure started coming, eyes down, eyes down, eyes down. And then you don't see downfield. This is what we were saying about Daniel Jones. And we have to be realistic about it because we're like, well, and I'm guilty of this as well, this part of it. We're saying, well, Russ is going to be an upgrade from what Daniel Jones was last year. Well, Daniel Jones played awful last year. We all know that. He was bad. But the league actually told us that as a whole, overall, like, look what Daniel Jones got paid. Look what Russell Wilson got. Like, the league told us they might value Daniel Jones more than Russell Wilson. At the very least, they're in the same category. Now, yes, he should be better than what Daniel Jones played last year. It's hard to play worse than Daniel Jones did last year, and there was a variety of reasons for that. But you got to be realistic with ourselves. And, I guess I'm guilty of it too. We sit here all summer and you're watching it. You don't want to be all negative all summer. The season's going to start. The NFL crazy things happen. You don't want to just sit there all the time and say negative things. So generally, I think you're naturally, I'm talking about media and people who are watching, you're naturally optimistic going into a season. Hey, this can happen, this can happen, this can work out, this can work out. But my daughter once said to me when she was younger, she was probably like 8 years old. And everyone always asks me in the offseason how they doing. And I always say, they're going to be better this year. They're getting better. And she said to me one time, Daddy, why do you always tell people they're going to be better when you know they still stink? Because every year I would tell people they're going to be better. They're better. I like the roster. It's getting better. And then the season comes around and I'm like, they're going to win 5 or 6 games. And it's the same thing this year. Like all this optimism, I picked them to win 6 games. So MV Ken says, is Bobby coming on? Bobby comes on after a few minutes. We'll talk to him in a few minutes here. Not yet, Bobby. I see your eyes perk. I see in the background there. But yeah, so we'll get.
All right, we're here live with New York Giants inside linebacker Tay Davis.
Okay, not sure if everyone else saw that. Was that Bobby with Tay Davis in a car? But yeah, as Deb says here, it's not negative; it's the truth, and that's the thing. I like to say I'm not a pessimist. I'm a realist. Tay Davis in the car. Everyone likes that one, Bobby. So that's Bobby popping back up onto the scene. But real quick. So, a couple things. The Jackson Dart package, that was real. There really was one. It was only going to be used sporadically. We didn't see it a lot. So there you go. Dexter Lawrence, pretty much a non-factor in this game. I'm not actually that surprised by it, is what I meant to say. Dexter Lawrence brought him along very slowly this summer. I think it's going to take him a little while to get into the mix. So we kind of got a muted Dexter Lawrence. I didn't even talk about the defense here. I thought they were okay. They're going to make enough plays, splash plays, and be able to make plays to get off the field at times. So that's a good thing. I think we saw that. The run defense still a problem. Losing 8 and 9 openers for the Giants is just ridiculous. The way they've been outscored in week 1's got to reflect on the coach. 89-12 in 3 straight years. The only team in the Super Bowl era to score 6 points or fewer in 3 straight openers. You had 6 months to prepare and come up with a game plan for 3 straight years, and you scored 6 points or less. That's got to reflect poorly on the offensive genius, quarterback guru, head coach. I'm sorry. I don't see how that doesn't. That bothers me out of this game. I thought the defense, in a way, kind of got a little fortunate. By the way, they got blown out, 21-6. I've said the Commanders played their C-plus game. C- game. Committing penalties all over the field. I thought they missed a bunch of big, deep pass plays down the field. One really deep ball to Terry McLaurin that could have been a long touchdown. A bunch of others were maybe Jaden Daniels threw behind the receiver. Zach Ertz dropped a big one on the opening drive. Like, they could have easily put up 30 points in this game. Easy. Now, the Giants defense does make enough splash plays up front. Brian Burns is making plays, 2 sacks. I thought he played really well. Kayvon Thibodeau actually played pretty well. Abdul Carter, you see him winning. If you go watch his reps, I thought he played pretty well. I got him with 2 pressures, according to our stats, a quarterback hit, half a sack, 23 pass rush reps and snaps. Brian Burns actually had 22, according to our numbers. So, they're going to find a way to get them all in there. That's going to be the strength of the team. We know it, but hey, they're going to have to stop the run. If you're an opposing team and you don't come into the game with the game plan of saying we're going to run the ball down the Giants' throat, you're just a bad coaching staff. It's that simple. You're a bad coaching staff. The depth behind Dexter Lawrence is Rakeem Nunez-Roches and Roy Robertson Harris with DJ Davidson and Elijah Garcia still questionable. Like, the depth behind Dexter Lawrence still questionable. Been saying that the whole summer. That was one of my biggest concerns. 220 yards rushing, not the great. A little bit of an indictment right there. So, let's see what else I got here. Oh, Micah McFadden. We're in wait and see mode with that. He went and got an MRI today. My understanding is, and Brian Daboll said this, it wasn't a break of his leg, but my understanding is his foot. So he had MRI on his foot to see what's going on there. We'll see how that pans out. Possibility he avoided something completely serious. That is a possibility. We don't know yet. We'll find out probably in the next day or two. Regardless, I would expect him to miss some time, not knowing anything definitive about that, but just based on everything that happened there, expect him to miss some time. The question is going to be how much. Is it a bunch of weeks, or is it going to be something that needs to be fixed in the season? So we'll have to wait and see on that. But at least they avoided the original scare, because I think when you get an air cast on your leg, you thought for sure he had a broken leg. The rollout to Marcus Bowen in the red zone. Here's my take on that. Forget it. I think the Giants, more than anything, and they did this in the summer and it worked a whole bunch of times. I think they were trying to get Russell Wilson a rushing touchdown there, more so than getting the ball to Marcus Bowen. That's my opinion on that play right there. Still, you just run the ball from the 3-yard line, or when you're that deep, just run the ball. And so, Darius Muasau would be filling in for Micah McFadden. We saw he got picked on right away. First play gets in. What do they do? Oh, he's lined up across from Zach Ertz. Guess what? We're going to throw to Zach Ertz for a touchdown. So definitely a downgrade, Darius Muasau. I know the Giants like him. I haven't seen anything in practice over the last 2 years that says to me that this is an every down starting type play. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe with the bigger opportunities, better. That's what I saw there. So, all right. Now I know a lot of you want to ask questions, get things off your chest. So I wanted to make this show primarily your questions. So we'll bring Bobby on for a minute here. Bobby, what's going on, man?
Before we do questions, talk about your book is out tomorrow, right?
Yes.
So tomorrow. If I pre-ordered that, is that showing up tomorrow for me?
I think it does say that if you ordered it, that it shows up tomorrow. The book right here.
I just put the link in the chat, so make sure everyone go check that out.
Yeah, please order. Give good reviews on Amazon. That's always key. Also, same here. Give likes to Giants Nation Show. Good reviews. Get the subs up. Come on, subscribe, tell your friends. You know how this works. But the franchise, New York Giants, a curated history of Big Blue. I talked to so many people involved in Giants history here. Eli Manning, Carl Banks, Lawrence Taylor at one point, Bill Parcells, John Mara sat down and talked to me about history and some stories with his dad and growing up with the team. So there's a lot of good stuff in this book, chock full of stories about
anything from the Joe Judge era.
No, so I was about to say, so it's basically the stories of the Super Bowl years only, because we want to make there's a quick recap of the history at the beginning, and then each subsection is about a Super Bowl year. So we're talking about the 4 Super Bowl championships plus 2000, right? The old Tiki Barber, Kerry Collins team. I spoke to Jesse Armstead on that, a bunch of other good people about that year. That year was a lot of fun to talk about. And so those 5 seasons, and then I was actually going to write, Bobby, an Odell era chapter, like to finish it out and then get into like the current. And we decided at the end, if it was only a focus on the Super Bowl years, it didn't make sense to then just talk randomly about what was going on in the last 12 years here. And so we decided that it didn't fit the book. So Joe Judge, unfortunately, did not make it.
Unfortunate. You should at least got one quote from him.
Hey, Joe Judge, okay? You might not like Joe Judge. Joe Judge is forever linked to the Giants still, because he's super close with Jackson Dart, by the way. He was his quarterback's coach last year at Ole Miss, essentially. I don't know, his title was something else, but analyst. Joe Judge is a big part of Jackson Dart, like that story there. And that there's a big relation. Joe Judge was at it when he got drafted, wherever they went out in Utah. Joe Judge was out with him.
Oh, my proudest retweet ever was, someone said Bobby loves Joe Judge, and I quote tweeted with, so does my quarterback. And Joe Judge was like, yeah, I agree with that. Both these guys do love me. So, all right, so let's hit us with some of your questions. as we close this out. So again, I'm putting the link is in the description for the book. I'm excited to get mine tomorrow. I just put it in the chat. At least go click on the link, even if you're not going to go buy it at this moment, and then have the tab open.
Or if you just want to come out tomorrow, I'll be at the Barnes & Noble in Paramus. Make sure I don't sit there by myself twiddling my thumbs.
Done a lot. You should. You know what? You should have done the show from the Barnes & Noble. So next book you do, we'll do something
Yeah. Well, maybe in the future. I'm thinking about doing some live Pop Monday podcasts still. So we're just going to, maybe in October, November, I was looking at dates. And so maybe we'll find a bar. We'll do a live podcast. We'll get people to come and, join in. And we'll have a lot of fun there. I'll bring out a player to also something like that. So if you like that idea, let me know. Let me know some places you think that would be a good place to host that as well. So, right, Bobby, I want to know real quick. When you heard my rant, what were you thinking there? Did it bring anything up? Does it resonate? Did it what's your biggest concern off that?
It was just kind of. Now here's where I'll say where I purposely did not use the word vibe all off season, and I rolled my eyes up. I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to kill fun, right? It's the off season. It's too damn long to just be miserable about everything. But I never once said the vibe's different. I never used that as one of my takes. And it's because of stuff like that. Here's where I will say I was wrong, though. I kept on saying, upgrades are nice, but what exactly are you upgrading to? And citing Russell Wilson specifically. You're going from the 29th quarterback to the 22nd if you're going off of last year. But he was so bad yesterday. And I don't want to hear about the offensive line because his deep ball accuracy was not there. And that's the one thing that is supposed to be there with him. Now, I do think, if they get Andrew Thomas back, it can look better and more comfortable for him out there because James Hudson was the biggest culprit. And, I remember last year's week 1 playing the Vikings, and you're like, this guy is totally cooked. And then DJ puts together 3 of his next 4 games are decent to good, and then it got bad after that. So I'm not saying it's impossible for us to go out there, but I was very surprised that it was that Russ just couldn't hit. Russ looked worse than what the last 3 years of him were, right?
Yeah.
And that was the worst version of him previously.
That's the thing is when you have a veteran quarterback, okay, he should be able to handle the pressure, make some plays under pressure, not just wilt. That was the surprising thing. I mean, what was that one play where he was just the pocket didn't even really collapse. It just got pushed back a little bit.
He
almost turned sideways and was just shimmying back and forth. And you're like, whoa, what is in the middle of the play? I literally was sitting there in the press box. I'm like, whoa, what is that? That's kind of stuff you're like, that shouldn't happen.
Yeah.
That's 2 of 12 for 20. So 16 times he's pressured. Bobby, he produced 26 yards passing on those 16 dropbacks where he was pressured. Now, granted, 2, he scrambled and gained some yards, but 2 of 12 for 26 yards with 2 sacks. You cannot survive in the NFL if you're not going to make any plays. 0 under pressure.
And the Steelers' points per game last year with Russell Wilson was ranked 13th. If you put it for the entire year, cutting out the Justin Fields games, I thought that they would be the 20th ranked offense, and I'm just not ready for another year of 30. Now, obviously, if they go to Jackson Dart, things can change, and the whole outlook on the season changes. But I do want to get to some of these questions, and I want you to mostly answer because I do have a mailbag.
Mark Cavarello here. We got to get to him.
Okay, let me. I forgot I could star some of these questions. So while I find that one, do you think they should start Daniel Bellinger over Theo Johnson?
Well, I actually was thinking about tweeting it yesterday. My hot take is I think that Daniel Bellinger is a better player than Theo Johnson. I mean, he was bad we forget, he was bad at the beginning of last year. He did get better. So it was there was 2 parts of Theo Johnson. There was a split. There was Theo Johnson the first 4 games, and I'm not exactly sure the number of games, and Theo Johnson the last 4 games. And he was much better the last 4 games. But the Theo Johnson we saw again yesterday was back to the Theo Johnson the first 4 games. And it was bad, man. I don't know. The Giants like him way more than I do personally. I'm talking just evaluation as a player. When I look out on the field, they talk about him they think he could be a high-end tight end. I don't know. I see – you tell me what you think, Bobby. I see too much stiffness. Like Daniel Bellinger is what he is, but I think he's just a solid, hard-nosed type player. He could do some things for you. He's not the greatest blocker in the world to be a little bit of a liability at times there, but I think he's a good enough blocker at times, most of the time. So I don't know, but if you have dreams that Theo can be the guy the Giants do, then I get it.
So I had Theo Johnson as my tight end too in last year's class. Granted, it was a very weak tight end class where I didn't like Jatavion Sanders like other people, and then it was Brock Bowers and then Theo. So I have bigger expectations for him than Daniel Bellinger because he can do more than Bellinger. But if you're not doing those things and then you're dropping passes, then I will swallow my pride on that and say, well, they should start Daniel Bellinger. I won't pull the plug after week
I wouldn't
one.
do it just yet.
But
I do think there's a possibility he's a better player though, Daniel Bellinger.
Chris, and again, I don't want to judge guys on one game when they have a career of doing stuff, but Chris Manhart struggled in this game as a blocker, and and Daniel Bellinger looked good, right? Their best run of the game was because of a Daniel Bellinger block. Well, then, all right, let's use Bellinger in these two tight end sets, especially because Russell Wilson's comfortable in those two tight end sets. That's something I thought we would see more of, more under center stuff. So I won't say after week one to do that, and I'm not going to just, Bellinger caught that one pass. Bellinger doesn't challenge the field down at all. But if Theo's not catching those passes that are to him and not getting the production down the field, whether it's his fault or the quarterback's fault, then Bellinger is more productive for you. And it's not even like those drops killed the Giants. Like, I don't think they've been I think he catches those passes. And I really don't think
on either of them.
The one was down at the goal line, so you could have had a closer shot.
The third and long was not.
No, and if anything, why did Russ shouldn't have thrown the ball there? It's like, why is Russ checking the down? But it's just a matter of the fact you got to catch the passes. So I've been starring some of these questions. Let's see. Okay, you said, Mark, since this season is probably lost, would you rest AT until Jackson Dart's first start? Make sure he is 100%, Jordan.
They're not going to view it as the season's already lost. Like, you can't expect the team to view it that way. But let me just explain what I think is going on here with the Andrew Thomas situation, right? More so than most, he's giving input on when he's going to return here. Like, I think a player always has some degree of control, but after what's happened to him here in the last 2 years, remember he ended up playing against Dallas in that opener, played the whole rest of the game with the torn hamstring, right? He ultimately played the rest of the game last year when he had the Liz Frank injury, right? Now he's coming back. He's going to say, and he's basically come out and said this. And so he's not going to play unless he feels he can play at the level that he wants to, meaning that he's not going to step on the field. He's not going to give it the go ahead until he's 100%. I really do think that. So, watching him walk into the stadium that day, I was like, he looks like he's limping again. Like
but here's the thing: is he always walks with a limp. It's always it scares the shit out of me. He has a constant limp walk.
It's hard to tell, but I was like, you know what? I'm not so certain. And I spoke to him after the game. He won't commit to anything. He's being very careful and cautious about committing to anything. And I
don't blame him. The Giants have rushed guys back out, and I don't blame him at all.
I agree. So I think this is almost more. I'm not going to say it's a total him decision because I still think he's working with the team on it. But he probably has more input than most players do and have when they're in this injury situation and coming back from injury.
Okay.
He has the clout too, by the way.
Yeah, I mean,
that.
They can't force him to play. And again, I flat out just don't blame him. While we're talking about going to Dart, and we might as well get this out of the way, I said I'm not doing it on the mailbag. What do you think? How long does it take until they pull the plug with Russ? Asked Philip Brandstetter.
If they play really poorly the next week, here's the deal. Brian Daboll had multiple opportunities to flat out just say Russ is the starter last night, right? Sunday after the game. He had multiple opportunities to say that. He didn't want to put him in a spot, whereas if he went back and decided that wasn't the best. So in the back of his mind, he thought there was at least a 1% chance that he might not have Russ as a starting quarterback in week 2, right? To some degree. Otherwise, he would have said it. And he did it. Now he came back and he said, yeah, it wasn't a serious decision. But look, if they're 0-2 and they're coming home, what is the reaction going to be? First of all, everyone, like the last question already said the season's over, right? After one game. Coming home 0-2 for your home opener and going out there with Russell Wilson, if they look like they did offensively week 1, I think that they will think long and hard about whether to start Jackson Dart in week 3. Think about it. They're already okay with throwing him in mid-game if something happens to Russell Wilson, which I think is a terrible idea. I've been on record several times with that. They're already okay with doing that. So if they play really poorly and they come home for the opener, I think next week's in play. Week 5 is definitely otherwise in play.
So I want to ask about that too, the Dart package that they had, and I'm writing down timestamps for the postgame because people love timestamps. I was noticing last week, and I was like, everyone's asking about this. It's being floated out there. I asked some people, and they said that it might happen. And then Saturday and Sunday, you get full on reports from everybody about a Dart package. It doesn't happen. So what's the deal? Why was that reported widely and it didn't happen? Was it just wrong information or
no?
Or
it's definitely right information because we had heard about it on, we had heard about it the night before, like that it was that there was a package there, but I don't think it was supposed to come out and wouldn't get official confirmation, and no one actually confirmed it from inside. Like there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes with these things. But I think it really existed, but it was only for certain situations, a play or two, maybe here or there. Like it wasn't something that I think, this is my impression of it, that was meant to be like, okay, he might come in for a whole series, or he might come in for every couple drives to out of nowhere to surprise the other team. Like, I don't think it was a significant package. That's my impression of what I know of it so far.
Okay.
We haven't spoken to Jackson Dart, mind you, in a couple weeks. That's kind of like the little fight going on behind the scenes. Yeah,
let's talk. So tussle. I asked around because my buddy Marash was like, going at it with Andrew Marchand, and Marchand, I'm a sports media nerd. So like I love this type of stuff, even though as just a regular fan, I really don't give a shit if you guys get to interview Jackson Dart and Jameis Winston throughout the week. So what is the deal there? Is there people pissed off in the Giants building about interviews and podcasts done about Jameis not getting a fair shake? Like, is that
no, I don't think that
is there actually a policy they're breaking? Because someone told me that it's not actually a policy. Like, what's the deal?
Well, players are supposed to be made talk. Every player is supposed to be made available after the game and available to talk and throughout the week. And if you don't, like the whole Marshawn Lynch, you send a letter to the team, and there's a back and forth, and they work to make sure he's available. The league, it's actually in their contracts, I believe, that they're supposed to be available before and after games, and whatever it is, right? So I think they just didn't want Jackson Dart to get a lot of questions about being the backup quarterback kind of deal. So they were trying to hide him last week, and then it became a little back and forth. Everyone, and there's a whole big backstory behind it, but that's the genesis.
What is the backstory?
Just the give and take of, hey, he's supposed to do this. No, we're going to do this. So both sides just kind of, holding their ground there at that point. And here we are. And then after the game, Jackson said he was going to talk, and then Jameis was like, "Nah, he shouldn't talk here. Why should a rookie who didn't play talk here? It's a cramped locker room. It would have been like."
So Jameis was saying that it was a Jameis or Giants PR that stepped in.
Well, Jameis kind of stood up for him there, and then Giants PR took over.
Oh, okay.
But yeah,
I mean, the players are allowed to tell you no, right? Like I remember there's been players who are like, I'm not. Like they can they decline to answer questions even though they're available?
I mean, players are supposed to be available after every game.
Right. But they could be available and also just like not answer. Like I remember the Dexter Lawrence Thanksgiving against the Cowboys a couple years ago where he declined.
It's his birthday, yeah.
Yeah.
It's his birthday.
I don't know. I'm interested in it
because
it's
part of the responsibility of you as a player, and you should just answer the questions. Ask what it meant to you to be named the number 2 quarterback. Like why I don't. You could say, look, that's a coach's thing. I'm just worried about playing. Like, there's tons of way to just talk around it, but just
I'm interested
whatever.
in the sports media nerd, and then that Jameis is the one who stepped in. So let's Mike Florio, make sure you watch this, clip this. Let's get some views on the video. I want to hit you with some quick hitter questions. Why was Darius Alexander made inactive? Says C Road source.
Yeah, look, his play wasn't good enough. I mean, you saw it this summer, Bobby. He's come along slowly. It wasn't great this summer, and the fact that him and Evan Neal were both in that inactive list spoke volumes to where they're at right now. I mean, Darius Alexander, obviously you're not giving up hope on him, and you think he's going to grow into it, but he was running with the third team at time this summer, right? I mean, he got some opportunities with the first team eventually later on, but very little. And so, they just thought they were better off for this week in this game plan with Elijah Garcia than Darius Alexander.
Yeah, it's until he plays in regular season games, it's hard to he had a very bad camp, and I'm alarmed by it. But like you said, I refuse to fully judge a player until he gets some actual.
The Evan Neal one is pretty eye opening, and it tells you where they're at with that. Like, this seems to be coming to an end soon, right?
I'll at least say I'm happy that they're not sticking with their guns and forcing him to be over Stinney. Like, I actually give them credit on that because Stinney is the better player. So
the fact that he's behind Aaron Stinney is kind of eye-opening now.
Well, yeah. But I said after preseason, Evan Neal went from I'm interested to now you are, if the season is just totally a wash at the end of the year, I want to see you at 3 games at guard simply because that's what I'm invested in at that time of the season. The same way I wanted to see Jake Kubis at the end of last year, not because I think or have any type of investment in it, but I'd rather see that than whatever else they're out there. Another guy who did not play, although he was active, Jalin Hyatt. K-Mac just says Hyatt developing, but is there any way there's ties severed there? Because he's clearly not part of the plan at all.
Yeah, I still don't think so. They don't have enough depth there. Like, how are they going to get rid of him?
But why don't they go and get, there's guys available, even Little Jordan Humphrey. Like, there's guys that are available that are probably better players than Hyatt that could get 5 snaps per game, or if someone got injured, could go in. Why are they still holding on to him if they're not going to actually use him even for the 5 plays a game or whatever?
Yeah, I think I thought the plan going in was going to be for him to play those 5 plays a game. It just didn't work out that way for whatever reason.
Let's see. So Jake Sanders, he left a chat, but he accidentally forgot to put the question in it. So here it is. He says, or Jonathan Sander, do you think there's any difference between Daboll and Schoen on playing Dart early? That's a good question. Like, where is there, because playing him after week 2 was not their plan, but we all think it could happen. Or hell, week 4 is not part of their plan. Is there differences of opinion there?
I don't know that for a fact. I would just think that Daboll's a little more motivated to playing him. Daboll is all in on Dart. You could see that, right? I just think he would be more inclined to want to play Jackson Dart sooner. Like, the pressure is more on him. He's the one who's, I think, naturally, personality-wise, is more concerned with his future, with where his future is and what his job security is. So
I've never seen Daboll just kind of explain things as much as he has the last 2 days in press conferences. All of a sudden, he's giving his thoughts. He's like, yes, that's a good question. I
have this on top of my page, so let's just, I'm aware of how many games we've won. This is John Mara last year. This is the last time we spoke. I'm aware of how many games we've won, and obviously the results are not even close to what we want them to be. They're going to have to get better if we're going to move on from year 4, right? So that tells you right there how much pressure is on them, and I think Brian Daboll is well aware of that.
Right. Let's plug the book one more time. Frank Bannister says, Jordan, what time tomorrow? Jordan, see you tomorrow. Frank,
6:30. Frank's the man. 6:30. Paramus, Barnes & Noble be there. The franchise. It's the release date. The release party, Bobby.
I like it.
All right, let's rip through a bunch of questions. You want me to start picking them too?
I just wanted to make sure I got all the ones. Yeah, go with whatever you got.
Let's go to Van Pelt. You see Van Pelt?
Yeah. Abdul Carter
Okay.
getting only 46% of the snaps.
Yeah, I think that's just you got to ease him in slowly, little by little here as we go along here. They have a 3-man kind of group there, rotation. I don't know if you saw. I know Bobby noticed probably, but Chauncey Golston kind of got in there a little bit early. I think we'll kind of see that disappear and Abdul Carter's snaps going up a little bit more as we go forward here. But look, he will get playing time. He will earn himself playing time. I think people just need to let that settle. And it's week 1. I don't think that's the end of the world that he played 50% of the snaps in week 1. If each week it rises by 5% or so, he'll be at a 70%, which is probably where he should be by like week, 4. I think that's perfectly fine. I don't think that's crazy.
Okay.
You have a problem with it?
At the end of the day, like, he's better than Kayvon. And I understand, like, seniority, Kayvon's a good player, but at the end of the day, like, starting fast was the most important thing for this team. I don't think it makes a huge difference, but if this was a close game, 4 or 5 plays can make the difference, and Carter being in there over Kayvon could have been the difference.
But I'm also fine with Kayvon playing some of the rundowns over him, and then just save Carter for more just straight for passing downs at this point.
Right. Well, even then, Carter, I think, is super disruptive in the run game, even though.
I know. But hey, it's not. Why do we? If we have to play all 3 guys, that's one of the solutions. Let's keep Kayvon on there more in the passing downs at times than Carter. Running downs.
Yeah. At the end of the day, a Carter should be getting more snaps than Kayvon to me. Let's see. Any other ones that you got? Can you see?
I just saw something about Skattebo. Here we go.
Oh, Skattebo.
Yeah, a lot of people have asked. I saw about Skattebo of why he, they need to play him more, and so why did Skattebo stop playing after his solid first half? I mean, solid first half. He really only played a few plays here or there. There was the 2-play stretch, his first 2 plays, which were pretty good, and then not really much after that. Right, he got a couple runs, but got nothing basically on him at all, right? Except when he almost concussed Marcus Bowe, right? But yeah, I think, look, and you know what? It was kind of interesting because I think when they started trailing, it ended up going more towards Devin Singletary. So I think that's why as they tried to come back there, that they tried to slip in Devin Singletary. He actually out-snapped Cam Skattebo. And I think that'll change as we move forward here. Also, Skattebo just didn't have a lot of time on practice field, so they're kind of easing him back in here.
Yeah, I think he's more impactful at, like, getting the ball in space. I mean, he had negative rushing yards, and also, like, Singletary had the longest run of the game. Now I think it was probably the best blocked run of the game, but still, like, I think people think because of the excitement for Skattebo, like, Singletary's been Singletary. There's an argument made that Singletary is a better getting handoffs than Skattebo right now. We got to see Skattebo do it first.
By the way, I was just joking about giving Marcus Bowe a concussion. Obviously probably not a great joke these days, but yeah, Sean Sullivan actually.
Yeah, clip that one too, Mike Florio.
Stop it.
ESPN reporter jokes about concussions. I'm just glad ESPN's allowing a non-player to have a podcast. I got to make one ESPN joke every show.
I'll just ignore that. So
okay, ignore that. Someone asked. Somebody had a Jonathan Sander. Can you see Abdul playing inside linebacker more with Micah out? Appreciate the chat. I just don't. He has not practiced at inside linebacker. 3-4 plays per game, but he's not. We kind of have to eliminate that idea that he can just he's going to just play that position.
I don't think you want to do that to him either. I don't think that's beneficial for him, to be honest with you. It is a way to get him on the field. So maybe you could put in a package where he plays a couple snaps here or there.
Yeah.
And you use him as a rusher basically exclusively in those packages, which I think they actually already have, but you maybe just blow it out a little bit more to add a couple snaps. I think that's possible. But I don't think you want him basically going to have him like learn on the fly to play that position at the NFL level. I'd rather him concentrate on being an edge rusher primarily.
Hey, they did it
Rusher.
They did it once. Why not bring back a former safety who wore number 21 and move him to linebacker? I don't think that's actually going to happen.
Yeah, I don't think that's
But
happening.
it would be better than Darius Moasau. Like, I think he'd be better at every single part of the position than Darius Moasau, not just coverage downs or like literally every single part of the position.
Yeah, Darius Moasau never did anything to really stand out, to be honest with you.
Yeah. All right, let's get a couple last questions and then we will roll here. Oh, so this okay, do this and then I'm going to finish it with the question I have for you.
Okay. Sean Sullivan says thoughts on GVR to center, maybe move Bo or Luminor to guard. We signed him to that. I don't think you want to start moving guys around now, to be honest with you, all over the place. You just spent the whole summer with these plans of who to play where. I really don't think you want to start moving guys around. If the struggles for JMS continue, down the line, maybe you think of doing that, moving JVR to center, but I don't think that's anything the Giants are planning on doing anytime soon.
I hope they're not so stuck on Marcus Bo being a tackle that they wouldn't like try and move him to center at some point. Again, it may not even be this year, but next year. But I would like to see Marcus Bo play right tackle before
you said Marcus Bo center.
Yeah, I think that might be his best position.
Marcus Bo.
He struggled at left tackle in preseason. For some reason, people ignored that because his first game at right tackle was dominant against the Bills. Like, it was great. But at left tackle, he struggled. Center is kind of like that position that might fit him when he's facing against starters. Jonathan, why can't the Giants fix our O-line? Other teams, I mean, that's a huge question at the end. I appreciate the super. I think it's lack of total, and I think it's lack of trying to actually make it good, and they more just kind of plug holes.
I think it's just missing on their big investments. Like, you put their big investment was Evan Neal. Like, they whiffed on the biggest one. JMS is a second-round pick. Doesn't look like he's a high-end player. I mean, that's a first- and second-round investment, Bobby, in 4 years here. That is a big-time investment. And on two players that you're getting literally nothing from one of them. He can't even be active right now. And the other one is a below-average starter. So think about that. A top 10 pick and a second-round pick, and you're getting a below-average center out of that. Think about how bad that is.
Last question is from
I thought
me.
You had a response.
I want to save some of my O-line takes, and I have a mailbag tomorrow, and I wanted to hit that topic specifically.
Oh, okay.
So I gotta save my full takes after I put together 2 pages of notes on it. So this is my last question with the Malik Nabers stuff, and I'm even going to write down the timestamp. Malik Nabers. So I don't like the fact that Malik Nabers. Let me rephrase that. I don't mind that they're jawing back at each other in the first quarter. Like, I don't hate that. I don't love it, but I don't hate that. What worries me, though, is Daboll trying to kind of fix the situation and dap him up, and Nabers is ignoring him. And this is the first quarter of the season. And Nabers deserves blame for that, and they should give him – they should, like, not just brush that under the rug, or it could get worse. But I also, as I've been doing this longer and longer, I don't stress that stuff as much unless a guy becomes a total issue, even though you can't ignore the signs. I put more of the blame on the organization of, like, this is what you get with wide receiver ones. They're probably going to be divas and pains in the ass.
But you kind of ignored all the warning signs with Kadarius Toney, and you thought everything was
no.
bad.
I
thought everybody was overblowing it. Come on.
No, I thought he was hilarious, but the signs were huge there. Like, they were always there. But at the end of the day, it's on the Giants to put together a team that's good enough where this is only happening a couple times a year and you're winning games, so it's not an issue. And then there's one, week 12 where he got 2 targets. It's a topic on Wednesday, and then you forget about it and not have it turn into what it turned into with Odell, where he took it to some extreme levels, but you're not there. I feel like they gotta start coaching him harder, whether it's about that shit and in general, because it's going to get worse and worse. And like you said, people ignore the signs because they love their favorite player. And in the court of public battle, guess who we all like more, including myself? Malik Nabers or Brian Daboll? Malik Nabers by a mile. And at the end of the day, you go back and you look at Michael Strahan and Tiki and all that stuff, you forget because there wasn't social media how much, there was some turmoil at time, or Antonio Pierce. But
if you're at that level and you're that kind of player, it's okay. The second you start to slip off, it becomes a problem. No, like that's where it usually becomes a problem. But if you're that good and you're that dude, look, and Malik Nabers has actually been very honest about it. He said when he feels like he needs to speak up and say something and things aren't going well, he's going to do it. Like that's
fine.
The kind of guy he is.
At what point? At what point of that is speaking up? Is your coach trying to, rally you as go for on fourth down, and you're just brushing him off and ignoring him? Like that's not good.
That's the problem. The coach also can't. The coach is also super volatile, right? And so he can't just be going 100 miles an hour at his player and then try to flip the switch. So that's why it could be combustible, right? If both guys are like that, I don't know. That's a good thing. Put your mic on.
I don't think Brian Daboll should be ignoring that either. Like that should be dealt with. I'm not going to like suspend it or anything.
Well, that's why it's better off not to have that during the game. Like that's something maybe, that should happen once a year, not every week. And if it does, it'd be better off to have behind the scenes than to be on the field in front of everybody to see. It's just a bad look for them.
And it rubs off on other players too, like when did we ever see Sterling Shepard act out a little bit at the end with Odell, right? Because Odell was rubbing. So like that stuff will rub off on the other players. And it maybe if one guy's doing it, it's whatever. If everyone feels like they have the right to do that, then it becomes an issue. And I do think Carl Banks made a good point. Like we don't need every single time the TV goes to commercial, it's Malik Nabers on, got a towel over his head and then, like that's not good for the team. So I hope Brian Daboll is the type of coach who addresses that and not just slides it under the rug.
Once you give him they've slid blanche, it under the rug, though, you can't just put it back in the can, right?
That's my worry for Brian Daboll is that
I feel like we're already past that point. He said he was giving input on who the quarterback was going to be this offseason, for God's sake.
I said last year, it's a culture of letting shit slide, and that talks about details and plays and stuff like that. There's a culture of letting shit slide, and like you said, I think it's hard to put that back in the bottle once you've already let it out. So, all right, do you got anything else before you close this out?
I think that's all I got today, Bobby. I mean, as always, everybody subscribe. Tell your friends. Breaking Big Blue times Giants Nation show every Monday. I really do want to do one of these. Somebody mentioned they gave Malik Nabers a retired guy's, a deceased retired guy's jersey. That kind of says, talk about opening the can of worms, right? But make sure. I want to do a live one of these. Are you going to be in New Jersey at any point?
Not till December, so you have to, get a guest or somebody for that.
All right, so maybe we could do one. We'll test it out before December, and then we'll do a live one on a Monday night in December as well.
Oh, great! I got to book another night of travel in New Jersey.
Poor Bobby. He's got to go to work in New Jersey.
Yeah, if you haven't heard, that's kind of a deal breaker for me.
I was about to say.
All right, close this out.
All right, you're listening to Breaking Big Blue. I'm Jordan Raanan. He's Bobby Skinner. Breaking Big Blue times Giants Nation show. See you next time.